been invaded. They are allowing, by proxy, illegal immigrants to shut down the government at the expense of the American people, because it's the illegal component that's causing them. They're the ones steering this ship. Are y'all thinking about that? It is the illegal immigrant who came here unlawfully, that have taken residence. They've got these Democrats in such a chokehold that Democrats are keeping the government shut down until their new constituents, the one that's really running the show, get what they want, which is health care, subsidies, give me my money. The nerve of these Democrats, and the nerve of the Democrat voter to be such a, how are you this weak? How are you? You know what? I'm gonna tell you, I can't speak for the white liberal. I don't know their plight, their story, and why they exist. I'm gonna talk about the black liberal. The reason why the black liberal is able to let this happen and they don't do anything to fight back about it, because they are still ideologically enslaved. They choose their slavery. I was recently at a summit last week up in Pennsylvania, Seeds and Roots, wonderful summit. And I got some pushback because I made a very controversial statement that I really didn't get to fully defend and flesh out. So we're going to do it tonight. And it's relevant to this discussion. I've gone on record and I have said that the African slave, i.e. the Black American, would now be considered descendants of the African slave here in America. We were the only, for the most part, people group in history that we did not overwhelmingly, hear me clearly, I don't want to be lazy in language, and I don't want you misrepresenting what I'm saying. So don't hear what you think I heard. Hear what I'm actually saying, because I'm going to be real clear. We are the only people group that did not overwhelmingly en masse as a group participate and fight for our own emancipation, our freedom, even though our rights come from God and we were born free. In terms of us being enslaved, property of another image bearer, it was done without our active participation, without our active our participation, our permission, without our permission, and without our knowledge. What do I mean? Yeah, you had Frederick Douglasses of the world. You had your Harriet Tubmans of the world. You had your Nat Turners. But where was the uprising, the slave uprising, like the Haitians, to where they're like, oh, we're not going to be a slave no more. We're going to kill and slay all of y'all, and we're going to revolt because this is our freedom. We're fighting for it. Yes, you had individuals who were Black, many freedmen who fought for the Union Army. But how do you explain? This makes me so mad when I think about it. Not mad in the sense that I harbor unforgiveness in my heart, but angry that this is our history that I have to grapple with. How do you explain whole slave plantations where the master, overseers, everybody's gone to fight in a war? Who you think is left? Whole plantations that are left in the hands of the mistress, the women, and ain't nothing but slaves left on a plantation. Explain to me how those plantations just managed to keep on going, and there were no widespread slave revolts to where slaves en masse were like, we taking our freedom. Where did that happen? Abraham Lincoln has gone on record and said in a speech that they couldn't incite a slave revolt on these plantations, even if they tried. You want to know why? They were like, listen, you would think that some of these slaves in the middle of the night would go and kill the master and kill the overseer and kill everybody. They loved their master. They would die. They would kill for their master. We know that to be a fact. It was a bona fide fact that you had slaves who dug the ditches and the ramparts for the Confederate Army. Booker T. Washington gives an account of how the slaves on his plantation, the Burroughs' plantation, would go and hide the master's valuables in the forest so that when the Union Army came down, that massive stuff would be safe. You had Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed. I freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew they were slaves. I don't want to hear the victimization of how they gonna do this to us. You choose your slavery just like your ancestors were choosing it then. Because instead of them saying, I'll choose death before I be a slave, you got every excuse in the world. It's too hard. They might catch us. If we run, they might cut off my foot. Okay. It's the price you pay for your freedom. No different than the price you got to pay for your freedom today. They going to call you Uncle Tom if you leave the Democrat Party. They going to call you a bootlicker coon. So names got you shook to where you'd rather vote and support your enslavers than to be free and deal with the repercussions. Didn't nobody say it was going to be easy. You think it's easy as a Black woman born in the Bronx to actively come out as a conservative based by my Christian conviction? You think it's easy? You think my family has it easy? All of the death threats and the names that I get called because I choose to function in my freedom and say, no, I'm good. I don't want nothing from the government. I don't want nothing from you darn freak nasty Democrats. I want you to get the heck out of my way and remove the artificial weights, i.e. this government shutdown is just one example of the myriad of ways that these Democrats want to keep you dependent, keep you controlled, tax you into oblivion, keep your kids in failing schools. You have Black Democrats that say or have convinced themselves that school choice is bad because, well, if I choose school choice for my kid, what about all the other kids? What about all the other kids? So you're going to let your child receive an academically inferior education because you're worried about somebody else's kids? Have you not been given the responsibility to shepherd and raise and train your own child? To where you got these Democrats got you thinking it is virtuous to keep your kid in a failing school because all the other parents ain't got the sense enough to pull their kids out. Make that make sense. Do not tell me slavery is not a choice. I got pushback for the statements that I made because we don't want to deal with the truth that makes us feel some sort of kind of way knowing that our ancestors, they could have fled. They could have organized a whole slave revolt and slew everybody on that plantation. But freedom of the unknown was so much more easier than the possibility of running away and actually making it to freedom. Don't tell me slavery is not a choice. Because if it wasn't a choice, how is it that Frederick Douglass made the choice and fought his master and whooped his behind until he cried uncle? Frederick Douglass just wake up one day and be like, you know what? Master, I think I'm about to leave the plantation because I want to be free. And his master didn't be like, okay, Frederick, I think, you've lived here all your life. I think we'll just let you go. No, he fought him. And he looked that man in there. I'm not going to be your slave no more. So you're going to have to kill me because somebody got to die and it's not going to be me today. Why is it that Harriet Tubman, a woman, had more courage than so many? Why is it that there were 3 times more Black men in South Carolina than white men? Remember, all these white boys, whoever didn't have one leg, no eye, and no arm was too jacked up from the war to do anything. And you had 3 times more black men in South Carolina. And yet, they chose to stay on the plantation. Explain that to me. You got whole plantations that are unmanned. Why am I bringing this up? Because it matters. Because it doesn't feel good to know, okay, this is our history. We don't like it, but which one of us are going to be the ones to do something different? Grapple with the fact it may not have been your family. Maybe it's your neighbor, your black neighbor across the street, because your family fought for freedom. Fine. However, you got to rationalize it in your mind to make yourself feel better. We'll move it aside from you. Your neighbor didn't fight. What's stopping you from fighting today? Because this government shutdown is ridiculous at this point. I've gone into the Democrat history. I've done it. I've gone into their history. I've told you who these people are. I've debunked so many lies about the big switch and all of that. These people have you in a chokehold, and they've had you in a chokehold for a really long time. And people are finally waking up. But as some of y'all choose your slavery and then believe the lie that it's the Republicans that are doing this to you, and that is just not true.